A year ago, I was given a book by who was a young lady who is now my fiance, and it was a book on angels. And at that time, I hadn't read too much about angels. I took it home and read most of that book that night. And I had probably one of the most sleepless nights I've ever had that I could remember in my life. And I dreamt all night about angels. They were everywhere in my dreams. They would, every time I would start to fall asleep, I would be seemingly nudged by another one, and it would wake me up. And I awoke the next morning with a strong presence of angels around me. And that was the beginning of it. And from there, I had varying experiences throughout the whole last year that just affirmed and validated their presence.
My first involvement, or my first awareness, was when I was driving in a van with a friend of mine was driving, and it was pouring rain. We were on I-75, and the van started to hydroplane, and we were sailing off the road and heading right for some cars that had pulled off because of the storm. And as we were heading for these cars, I knew we were going to hit them. And I was sitting there, and I stiffened up, and then all of a sudden this voice came out of me. It wasn't my voice. And it just very calmly, but very sternly said, "No." And at that instant, the van instantly changed direction, went across the 2 lanes of traffic. No other cars were coming to threaten hitting us then. And then it went down the median and back up the other side of the median, and very gently rested on the shoulder of the road, facing the correct direction for the oncoming traffic. And we just sat there and looked at each other, and I knew then, there was no doubt in my mind that it was divine intervention, that my guardian angel moved the van. I mean, came right down. It was like they lifted it with their hand and put us on the other side of the road. And it pretty much blew my mind, because I knew we were going to hit those cars otherwise.
I've seen a beautiful angel. He came to me in my living room, and he said his name is Michael. And I was sitting talking with a friend about life, just pondering life and direction in life. And when he came to me, he just appeared literally out of the thin air and just stood there and was exuding the most pure love I'd ever felt. It was just wonderful. And he radiated that for a few minutes, and then he began to speak to me. And my friend that was there with me just seemed to have this complacent but a very beautiful smile on his face. But he never said a word while this angel was speaking to me. And he just told me that I had work to do, and that God the Father had deemed him to come to me to give me a message. And I was shocked. I thought, why me, little me? But he just said that there was work I had to do and that I would learn more about that in the future. So he left by putting a beautiful ball of light on top of me, around my head, and then it went down through my body. And I felt like a healing on the inside, I can't really describe other than it was just a very beautiful feeling. And then he was gone. He said a lot of things, but I can't remember everything that he said. There was so much. But he gave me a feeling of direction in my life. It was like I would call it an awakening. It was just beautiful.
I first became involved with angels when I was preparing a talk for a local group, a luncheon group, and I was preparing this talk on my life, on This Is My Life, and ironically, it changed my whole life. And at that point, the angels came in and really the center was born, because I was told that I was to start a center. At that time, I thought primarily for women. To start a center to be able to help women because of all the things that I have come through, divorce, my father dying with cancer, a lot of the things that I've come through, that I'd be able to help other people. And that I needed to do that. And the angels just completely changed my whole life.
And then I had an angel experience. First of all, I had a dream. The dream was very, very vivid. The dream that I had was more vivid than real life. The details of the vision was like a super real painting. And I dreamt that I saw an angel walking across a room. There was a high ceiling in this room, but the angel was walking counter to gravity. Yes, there were wings, and it just sort of floated through the air. It was walking, and yet it wasn't walking. It was just being transported right across. It was so real. It was the most outstanding experience I'd ever had. It was in a dream state. So, and then soon after that, I had someone that gave me an angel reading. And this person was clairvoyant and could see angels. And she told me all about my angel, and I did a painting of it. And that started me on a mission, another mission to paint the angels, so that people, by and large, in society would accept angels, take them down from pedestals that separate us, you know, and so that we could feel intimacy and an intimate relationship with angels.
I was down in a resort town on the coldest night ever recorded in Ocean City, Maryland, and I was at a party, and I had come out of the party at about 2 o'clock in the morning or something, and I had fallen into the bay, into ice up to my neck. And I can remember screaming. I started treading, thinking I could just get out, but every time I tried to get to the side, I couldn't grasp on to pull myself out. So I finally started screaming because I felt my body freezing, and lo and behold, I really thought I was going to die, and I was numbing out. And right before I was about to go out, I just, something told me to just sort of just lunge towards the side. And I remember I had gone out at that point. I don't remember anything except something pulling me literally out of the water. And it just so happened that people had heard me screaming buildings over and had called the police. And when I got out of the water, the police were there, and they said that they had come up to me and just said, we'll take you. And I just said, no, I'll be okay. And I ended up going with some people into their apartment because I didn't want to go with the police. But the real moment in that whole experience was I knew I could not have gotten myself out of the water. And in fact, the police had said, how did you get out? Because it was all ice. And to this very day, I really don't know, but I knew that something had literally taken me out, just taken me out of the water. And I think that's my first profound experience.
It began when I was 16 and I was having a nervous breakdown over my parents' divorce. And all of a sudden, as I was going through all this pathos and self-pity and, flailing around, how people do, I heard a voice, an inner voice that said, go over and take this book off the shelf. And I thought, well, what does this have to do with anything? And it was a legal law book on contracts for, legal contracts for artists. And they said, open the book up, and there was this smeared ink in there. And these are very expensive books, and they never have smeared ink. And it said that the Mona Lisa had 70 layers of thinly applied paint and no brush marks, and that no one could figure out how he did it. So I forget all about the divorce, forget all about everything, and I'm going, how did he do that with oils? How did he do that? I was obsessing over it. And the angels, they came in and they showed me a technique of painting, which is absolutely gorgeous.
I've been visited by them, and because I don't have any real formal religion, but I know that something guides me. I feel something profound or otherworldly guides me. And I think that that's what we all have, which is our instincts. I think that it's angels.
So you've had angel experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I've had angel experiences of people that I've never met, but I've also had people die that have appeared to me as angels also.
Angels have a physical presence, and I think they manifest to us in a way that will make an impression on us in a way that we need to see them at the time that we need them. And wings is maybe it's their way of showing that they're different. Maybe it's, I've heard stories and read stories of how they use the wings to wrap around and comfort people, or maybe how they use them in transit. It can mean so many things. I think that angels just appear to us in a way that oftentimes we expect them to in our mind, so that we can get over maybe the preconception of what is an angel and maybe get down to what are we trying to learn, what are you trying to communicate to us. And so they do it in a way that's comforting to us, and maybe in a way that we're expecting it in our subconscious.
She looked almost like a princess, but she had blonde hair, very, very long, almost down to her toes, and she had it in a bun, and there were strands coming down because they just fall out of her bun, and she was wearing a layered dress. It was see-through, and she was wearing a pink bodysuit, and her wings were enormous. They were very big, and they were as big as her. They came down to her feet. They went to the floor, very far out and wide, and she seemed like she was so light, She wasn't like standing almost, She was like in air,
To describe the angel, I guess etherically she's light. When I see her, she's light. Sometimes she shows herself to me in like a human form. And when she does, she's absolutely magnificent. I mean, she's huge, and she's got these outrageous, incredible wings. They're just beautiful. But the thing that I really focus on, I don't focus on that as much as her eyes. When I look in her eyes, there is total calmness. There is total unconditional love. It doesn't matter what's going on. When I see my angel, I know that everything's going to be all right. It's kindness, compassion, just total serenity, peace. And that's it in a nutshell. Love and peace is it in a nutshell.
The beings I saw, the light beings I saw that were around me in my near-death experience, I felt were angels. I didn't see wings. I only saw columns of light, and I'm not an artist, but if I could draw them, it would just be like a crystal of light, just a straight crystal. And out of that light came, like on little waves, love. Like the same kind of love, like when you come home and your dog is waiting at the door and is just all over you and is just so happy to see you. But this was like that, magnified 1,000 times. But you felt total peace and comfort and love and compassion and acceptance and all those things rolled into one.
the few times I've actually seen them like I'm seeing you, they were very hazy and very, they were just more like forms. Usually I don't see them. Usually I see them in my mind's eye. More than often I hear them. I don't hear them like I'm hearing you. It's like an internal hearing. The best way I can put it is an altered state comes over me, kind of an alpha state. Kind of like when people get very inward and very quiet and very private, and they kind of shut out the outer world and they feel a deep sense of peace. A very deep sense of peace will come over me. The angels are very careful with me to put me at my ease and to not seem too grand. They want me to relate to them on a kind of an equal basis. And so they go to great lengths to kind of create that environment for me to deal with them. But they are extremely, sort of like if you could talk to the most powerful computer. Of course, the angels I deal with are very powerful. I deal with the angels of high magic, primarily. Because there's so many different ones, and they have so many different areas of expertise.
I've seen my angel, and as I work at the table, my angel has huge wings, gossamer wings, if you want to say, the silky, like the silk web, and the wings will fill the whole room, and it's a very loving and very gentle and very wonderful experience to be able to share that with them.
My angel Isa is of the male gender. He's to me a male energy. I believe angels come in, both. Some people only equate to one, but I feel both. He's probably to me like a human build, but he's just radiant and very bright lit. I feel complete safety whenever he appears. Some of the other angels that I've seen look very similar. One is 7 feet tall. He's Michael. He's the one that came to me early on in my life, and he is just beautiful. Now, he does have wings. I've seen those wings, but Isa doesn't have the wings. And I don't know why. Some do and don't, but whether it's a level they go through, I haven't been there long enough to know.
I was coming back from a job where I was carrying a crew of painters, and I had been asking for some validation, some visual validation of Angel's existence when I was awake. Since I'd had quite a bit while I was dreaming, I wanted something while I was awake. And immediately upon asking for that, I was driving. The sky just filled with angels. And I had 5 people in a van with me, and they were all painters, and I just kind of casually looked around to see if anyone else had noticed what I was seeing, because the sky it was very obvious. They were everywhere. And I became nervous at first, and then a calm came over me, and I knew that it was okay, and it was all right whether anyone else saw it or not. It didn't matter, because I really felt as though I saw them.
Can we see angels?
I think so.
It depends a lot on how a person how well they're in touch with that realm of the universe. I think that the invisible realm, the realm that requires an enormous amount of faith and belief and trust in something that it exists. And if you have that faith and belief and trust, I think you're more likely to be able to see an angel appear.
The only way I can describe an angel in my eyes is that glow, that feeling that it's a feeling that overcomes you. You know when they're around. Your body tingles. It's just this overwhelming love that you feel through your whole body. You feel every being of you. You can feel it. You feel a softness around you. You feel a tenderness and just love. It's just, there's no mistaking it.
Well, I'm a spiritual person, and being a spiritual person, I realize that there are angels in the form of people who help you, from time to time when you need it.
Have you ever had an angel experience? Have you ever seen your angel or?
All the time. All the time. You realize that a person is doing wonderful, beautiful, loving things, and to me, that's an angel.
What kinds of things has your angel done for you?
Well, be kind and gentle and loving and helpful when needed. All of these things are angels. To me, angels is a spiritual thing, and anyone who projects a loving spiritual relationship, to me, is sort of angelic.
I was in Italy at the time, teaching school, and my father was sick. And I didn't really know how sick he was. I just knew that he had cancer, but didn't, thought things were going pretty well. On my birthday, April 30, 25 years ago, I got a telegram from the Red Cross saying you need to come home immediately. My aunt had had the presence of mind to send for me, knowing that it wouldn't be much longer. I got on the plane, flew home, all the way to Tacoma, Washington, which was a heck of a long ride. The next morning, they took me to the hospital, and when I walked in the room, his eyes were closed, and his hair had turned white. He had lost 60 pounds, and he looked like a different person, and my heart just broke inside. It was like, who is this man, And I wanted to run up to him and put my arms around him, but there were a lot of people there, and I felt real inhibited. And he wouldn't open his eyes, and I felt very, shut out. And then I thought, no, it's because if he opens his eyes and recognizes me, then he's going to know that it's the end. It took him a long time to even talk to me, and the first thing he said to me was, I just want to die, which just broke my heart again, and I could feel my heart just opening up and feeling what he was feeling. I'd been feeling sick for the whole time I'd been there, but it kind of intensified, and I started feeling nauseated and like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? And I felt very weak, and I said to my dad, I got to go, and I walked out. And the next thing I knew, I was headed towards the restroom, but I don't think I made it. And luckily, I was in the hospital because they scooped me up. I passed out, apparently. They scooped me up and took me to the emergency room. My first awareness was that I was no longer in my body. I was up by the ceiling. The only thing, and I saw them working on my body, and I felt very detached about my body. I knew it was me. I could feel the tension in their bodies, and I simply felt totally detached and wished that they were not so panicky. I was moving into this fog-like substance that's sort of like what we call an aura around somebody's head, but it was just billowing. And as I got closer into it, the more peaceful I felt and the more loved I felt. It was an incredible feeling of mixing in with that light and being attached to it, being part of it. And I wanted to keep going closer and closer. And as I got more into it, it was like I was totally enveloped by it. And I loved that feeling of being just totally, totally loved. When I looked down at my body, I could see things like, I could see that the doctor had on a tie that I didn't really like. And I was thinking, oh gosh, I wonder who picks his ties. And I noticed, I could also read what was going on in their heads, and I could see the irritation that one had with another, and I thought, it's not worth that. It's not worth getting excited. And then I'd float back up, and I'd look around, and I could see the clock on the wall, and it was under me. And I could see the little riprap around the top of the ceiling that was about this far down. And it was a real old room. And then I kept moving in, and I became aware that there were light beings. I don't know what else to call them. They were like, I didn't recognize faces. They were just incredible beams of light that were standing there, and what I knew was that they loved me, and they were helping me, and it was just like a million people hugging me and telling me how much they loved me. At one point, I looked back down, and I saw that, I heard the doctor say, we've lost her, and I thought, no, you haven't. I'm here. You haven't lost me. And then a big tunnel opened up, and I thought, yes, I want to go down this tunnel, because at the end of the tunnel was an incredible light, and I wanted to move into that. There were light beings in the tunnel. At this point, I looked back down, and I saw the door to the emergency room open, and my mother was trying to get in, and she was hysterical and screaming, it's not my daughter who's dying, it's my husband. Somebody, I think it was the doctor, said, God damn it, get her out of here. And all of a sudden there was this like lurch in my heart, and I thought, oh no, I have to go back. I have to go back, because I can't let her face my death as well as my father's. And at that moment, almost simultaneously, when I looked at my body, the doctor had said, adrenaline. We'll give her a shot of adrenaline in her heart. And I saw them take the syringe and stick it in my heart. And at that moment, it was like, bang, I was back in my body.
My story of my angel is when I was shot in the park, it was total darkness and I just couldn't see anything. I didn't feel any pain, but then I saw her, and she was very, very pretty. She touched me, and that's when I knew I was totally safe and nothing could harm me. I was going into the tunnel, and I could see her as she was going away from me. I still felt safe, and she like smiled, just telling me that everything was going to be okay. And then the tunnel, like, I was at the end of the tunnel, and that's all really I remember, and I couldn't see her anymore.
I spoke to my mother, and she called from the hospital, and she was fixing to come home. And by the time I left home to go to the hospital, she had died within a matter of 20 minutes. And it was quite a shock. But by the time they had brought her back and got her around, she had tubes down her throat and down her nose, so she could not speak. My mother was not one to speak words of affection or love or something like that. And it was the problem that we had as children, looking for that reassurance, that love from her. When she came out of the coma, and she was different. It was my mother's body, but there was a glow, a light, special presence about her that you could feel, that you knew was there. You felt it through your whole body. And she radiated this unconditional love. There was no mistaking about it. I feel it all the time now. I felt very blessed to have seen that, to have been a part of that. And my son and my sister left Florida, and they miraculously drove in 18 hours, which is unheard of. Had they not arrived there in the 18 hours, they would not have seen my mother alive. So that 3 hours that we spent there, that they sort of made up. And if you tried to drive it, you couldn't drive in that length of time. So they got to spend that time and that visit seeing her and experiencing this presence of, I believe, to be her angel self, her guidance, her a higher part of us that I think we all are reaching to achieve. But she went into the light and brought this back for us to see. It was real special. She died. She definitely died. And they brought her back, and they called her the Miracle Woman, because they couldn't believe how alert she was, responding. So people were coming into the hospital room to see her. I mean, they just found this woman laying dead on the floor. And so it was, I believe that it was a gift. I just feel it was such a gift, because I spend my life helping people. I spend my life sharing my experiences of all the things that I've encountered and have gotten through. And my faith in God and the angels, I feel like, are around me wherever I go. I travel. I've encountered near accidents where I felt that angels have interceded all the time for me.
there was one time that I can remember very clearly was that I was getting ready to move that morning, and one of the angels came to me and told me to park in a different place than I normally park when I go to work. And when I did park there and it was time for me to leave work and go to this storage place I was moving my furniture to, a lady backed into my car and hit it. But had I been at the storage place at that time that I planned, a tornado had gone through and totally wiped it out. I probably would have been wiped out with it. So I feel the fender bender saved my life. So by listening to my angel, I was spared, to say the least.
I understand you're supposed to name your guardian angel. I named mine Carol. It's a form of Charles, which is my first name. I also pray to St. Michael the Archangel every day.
Wow, and how has your angel helped you in life?
Guided me, directed me, kept me from evil, harm.
How long have you known that you had an angel?
Since I was a little boy. Very little.
If a child came up to me and asked me what an angel is, well, it's happened. I tell them that the angel is their guardian, their comfort. If they are never alone when their angel is with them. And it's amazing, the children know. They know. It's the adults we have to teach. The children teach us. And I often tell the children that they are angels. So are the animals. My cats have wings. But I would tell them to just, it's like their imaginary playmate. Many children have imaginary playmates. It's their angel.
If a little child would come up to me and ask me what an angel is, I think I would probably say a great friend. An angel is a great friend. One who loves you and comes close to you, and you may or may not be able to see it. But as a child that age, you would probably most likely be able to see that into that realm. And that you might see it as a beautiful being that's very bright and shiny and very loving and very strong. And you would know that it had this love for you, and you would know that it would be your friend for life.
If a young child came up to me in the street and asked me what an angel was, I said it was one of God's children, one of God's sparks of light that he sends down here to help us. And you can feel them around you, and you can feel them with you. In fact, children play and talk with angels. But us adults say, oh, no, you don't. You know, there is no such thing. And they'll say, well, I have a playmate or I have a friend that talks to me. It's the angels, especially children that are in crisis problems. They seem like they come in to be with them, to comfort them, to be in that dark little corner that they have.
If a child were to walk up to me and ask me what is an angel, first thing would be my smile to reassure them that they're always there to protect them. But I would probably describe an angel in a human form so that they could relate to it, and that they always wear beautiful white robes, and that they're just loving and gentle and kind, and they're always there to listen to you, regardless of what's going on.
I would tell a child, and the person that comes to mind is my little niece, and she's that wide-eyed 4-year-old, and I would tell her that angels are our dearest friends, and that they are there to make you feel safe when you're scared. They're there to make you feel love when maybe you're not too sure that love's present. They're there to make you know that you're never, never, never alone. And that all you have to do is ask.
If an adult would come to me and ask me what an angel was, I would tell them it was just a being of love, light, warmthness, and safeness, just helping our world.
The first experience I had with my daughter talking about her angel was, in a little hindsight here, because she, at 2.5 years old, started talking about a past life. I didn't know that at the time, of course, but in that time, between 2.5 years old and 3.5 years old, we ascertained that she was remembering her past life. At the same time, she was having a phobia about braces. Didn't want to wear braces. A dentist had to visit her school, and she was experiencing this total fear at the thought, forcing herself to stop sucking her thumb so that she would not have to wear braces. So, putting the two together and her speaking of her past life, I did not that I didn't believe in anything, I had no knowledge. I was kind of sort of like, all right, we're talking about your past life and all this stuff and everything, and something told me to ask her, after this fear of braces, this total, she was consumed with it, is the word I have to use. Something told me to ask her about her past life in relationship to these braces. And at that point, I said to her, you know, in order for you to come into this life and be born from mommy's tummy, and you had to leave that life, that meant that you had to have died. And she simply said, oh, yes. And I went, oh, really? Heart pounding, not believing that I'm having this conversation with a 3.5-year-old child. She goes on to, I said, well, if you died, do you remember what happened? And she went on to relate the story of how she was walking in a park and she heard footsteps. And she turned around, and the first thing she saw was a gun. And she looked up, and as she was being shot, she saw the man had braces. And as she's telling me this, the look of horror, she said, oh, Mommy, and he had braces. And at that point, just intuitively, I knew to tell her, that's why in this life you're so afraid of braces. You see, this has nothing to do. That life is done in your past, and this fear. And just as an aside, that fear disappeared at that moment. She now wants to pick out what called rubber bands for her braces. She can't wait to get them. Then I continued. I said, okay, let's continue with this. I said, well, then what happened after you died? And she explained that first there was darkness, and then immediately she saw this beautiful being. At that point, 3.5 years old, you know, she didn't say the word angel. She didn't know the vocabulary. And this being and she saw the wings, and she described the wings, and she knew to say glittery, you know, and how the angel was just there. And that moment, that was the first, she said, Mommy, just love. I just felt total love.
Have you ever had an angel experience?
Yes, I think I have.
Do you want to talk about it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I like to call her my captain, and she is she's my private muse. I don't know. She comes to me when I'm open to her. I think she's helped me to be able to build the temple within myself, and therefore to stand on my own 2 feet and in the center of myself.
Do you have experiences like this often?
Well, she's just exists within me on a constant basis. Do you know what I mean? Like, always there. So yeah, I would say often when I'm looking for it and when I'm open to it.
How do you become open to it?
By being quiet with myself and not allowing the anxiety to break in.
One time I was involved in a relationship where my angel came to me and told me that my current boyfriend had just fooled around on me. And I was absolutely in denial. I couldn't believe what she was saying. I said, no, say that again. I didn't hear you right. And she said, it's true, Deb. It's true. Ask him. So I got to my house, and he met me there later, and I asked him. He says, oh, no, I would never do that. And I said, well, that's not what Sarah said. My angel came to me and told me that you did. And he knew that he couldn't lie. And he looked at me and admitted everything. And I said, out the door. And what was strange, though, is while I was yelling and arguing and telling him, how could you do this, and the whole breakup scene, 7 beautiful beings, angels, appeared at the foot of my bed while I was sitting on the bed yelling, and I was like amazed. I was like, why now? I want to break up with this guy, you know, and I just couldn't believe what was happening. And Michael the Archangel was there again, and he said that this man was just sent as a messenger to help me wake up, and that it was okay, that it was his time to go, and he gave me complete peace.
The angels can talk to me, and I don't know how to explain that, and I'm sorry. You know, perhaps if we had more time, I could probably make drastic inroads on explaining it, but to make a long story short, they came to me and they said, well, you know, working with light is masculine and sound is feminine, and we need to balance you out, so you've got to start channeling music. I can't even read music. And they said, not to worry. I said, well, look, you get me the equipment, you show me how to use it, and hey, we'll do it. And I mean, at the time, I didn't have much money. My money comes in sporadically because I don't worry about it. Whenever I need it, it's there. And we were looking at like $10,000 worth of equipment that I don't know anything about. And I mean, within a few months, there it was in my living room, a whole recording studio, and I knew how to use it. You know, they'd keep me up till 3 in the morning reading these manuals, and I can never read manuals. But with their help, I was able to read these manuals and enjoy them immensely.
1975, I had a very special experience with my guardian angel. And this magnificent being appeared to me. I was in a meditative state. And this magnificent being in white appeared to me with a long beard and beautiful white hair and in just a radiant, glowing light. And where we might think of wings being on most angels, I didn't see wings as we normally think of them, but it was more like streams of light just pouring through the back of this being. And I knew that I felt great love with him, from him, a great caring. And I also knew that he had a great wisdom to share with me. And following that experience, well, even at that time, he told me his name. He gave me the name Ishma, and it was like thunder almost, and it's 7 times. So I've really understood the name. And so after that encounter, my whole life began to change because I was drawn more deeply into my spiritual awareness and studies of a spiritual nature, which moved me into teaching. But so much of it was being revealed through my artwork then after that time.
I believe the angels are awakening us and drawing us back to basics, to why we originally came here, and bringing us back to truth, and that our whole belief system has to change and get back to the way that it was intended to be at the beginning. And we have to come from our heart, and we have to come from love. And I believe that's what the angels are coming closer to the earth, because they are now. More and more people are having experiences with their angels. And I believe that's happening because Mother Earth needs to heal. And I believe that's our mission, is to be able to work with the angels, be able to heal Mother Earth so that all of us can heal in this process of getting back to the one.
They want us to be our best. They really do. They want us probably to see life's challenges and ask them for their help and thank them. And during the workshop here, a couple of things came to mind. I wrote them out. I kind of made a crossword puzzle. I don't do crossword puzzles, but know people that do. And Calling All Angels was written across the top of the schedule of what was going to take place here. So I used the letters in Calling All Angels to write kind of a crossword puzzle of my own about what was important in this morning's session. And one of the things that was important, I think, was what angels want us to do is to ask for their help and thank them for their help and then dismiss them. Let them know that you're done. You know, you're done with them for the moment, and that you'll be calling them again, sort of thing.
I wish I could exude the love as a human that I feel from my angel. And I just don't feel as humans we can do that. I mean, and that's why to experience the love from them is just so powerful. It's just incredible.
Angels, well, angels are from the heavenly realm, but I believe that they're all around us. They're with us wherever we go. Some choose to see, some don't. I feel our purpose here is to bring our own angel in and ground it here, to become that higher part of ourselves, to bring that unconditional love here on earth that's needed at this time.
I do feel that angels interact personally with each and every one of us, and they come to you when you're ready. When you say, hey, I'm ready, I want to see my angels, I want guidance, I need help, or I want to know what should I do. And I've become more aware in the past year of my angels, just because I'm open. I'm a lot more open. I take the time to say, hey, what should I do? Where are you? And just I don't want to say calm down a minute during the day and stop and be receptive. And I think that's where some of us are missing it, is we're not necessarily taking the time to be receptive and to notice that maybe someone's trying to communicate with us. Maybe there's something we need to hear or something we need to do.
Well, it was an experiential, experience. It wasn't, there was no question. It happened. So it wasn't a matter of, it wasn't an intellectual experience. It was a physical experience. And I don't know, it was a ball of, I read in the angel book, I didn't know what it was. It was a ball of energy that entered the room, and it just went through me, and it just calmed me down. I was very upset about something personal that was going on, and it just went through my body, and it was the most incredible feeling I've ever had. And I read in this weird, I was at a friend's house, and she had this angel book, and they talked about, the woman in the book addressed what happened to me, and I had no, former knowledge. It was like a circular form of energy, and it had something to do with, she discussed what kind of spirit it was, or, it was from some kind of, it was really trippy, and I don't really understand it, but it's the best I've ever felt.
I used to have a double S-curve scoliosis, and when I was 36, with the help of angels and spirit doctors, I got a completely new spine. And I saw the before and the after X-ray. I went through the experience of it. It took them 6 weeks to do it. I can't deny that. Everybody else can say I'm crazy, that's fine, I'm comfortable with it. I would say the same thing if I were them, but I personally can't deny that.
I was waking up one morning and I was wondering just about a specific direction that I was going to take. I found that I was starting to write a lot of poetry, and I couldn't rhyme 2 words before this had happened. But I was wondering about that, and I was thinking about the Bible and how I wish I could understand a lot of the old terminology that they used in today's language. And then an angel appeared into my bedroom in this wonderful glow of light, and he said to me that I would not only understand it, but that I would be receiving a writing of what he termed like a New Age version of that, so that I could explain, well, he would explain through me what was going on the earth today. And I don't think I believed any of it. I thought I was half asleep or having a great dream, because I just didn't believe it at first. And that was a Thursday morning, and the next Thursday morning, exactly a week later, he appeared again and said he just wanted to make sure that I connected and did hear him, and he said the same thing again, and that I would be writing a book, and he told me his name. He said he was called Isa, and that the book would be called the Book of Isa, that I would inspirationally write what he wanted me to know and to eventually publish it. So I've written quite a bit. I've got about 1,000 pages of material that I will wean from. but a lot of that was from that. And then he said that he would, put it together in book form for me too. The first time I was totally unexpecting it and had no thought of it whatsoever, so it was more of a shock, and it was also a disbelief. I was in great denial that I would even be worthy of this book, that he said I would write. So it was a lot of confusion at that point. But the light was so powerful that I was taken aback at the same time. The awe and the confusion were hand in hand. But a week later, when he came back, he was more familiar. But when he restated everything that he had said a week previously, it somehow connected. And then later on, he would appear in my friends' dreams who did not know about this. I didn't tell many people because I was a little bit overwhelmed with the idea myself. And I thought I'd keep it to myself until I knew what to do with it. And when he appeared in their dreams and told them to give me a message, it got my attention because they would tell me things that only I knew, so that kind of reaffirmed it for me.
My staff feels the angels all the time. One of the most beautiful affirmations of that this year is at Christmas time, they even gave me an angel Afghan, of all things, as a present. And they know. And and I know they feel the presence. And the difference is there are people that will walk the talk, and there's that will just talk it. And I tell my staff, whether I had to say one thing about angels, they would know by just coming in. Anybody would know. My staff knows by coming in the office that angels are real, just because the results are there.
I was going through a divorce, and it was a very painful time, a very painful experience. And there was a great deal of stress and distress associated with that. And it was a time that I needed strength from outside, from a higher power, greater strength than what I had within me or felt that I had within me. And so as I turned to prayer and meditation, then the appearance of the angel came to me. And just that, knowing that presence was there, I was able to get strong guidance through thought impressions, through visual images, through hearing voices, soft whisperings or dreams. And so that's how the contact continued to work for me, was through those levels of awareness. But it caused me to make decisions in my life that made my life, helped me to turn things around and to bring things into a more harmonious experience.
Part of my mission in life was to get to be with people and to try to ease the transition from one state of consciousness to another, what y'all call death, I guess. And I got to do it over and over until the fear was gone, and until I could then say to my dad, I finally think I have it right. And so I've been given lots of experiences to finally do what I was guided to do with you but didn't do. So hopefully I've learned, and in my learning maybe I've helped a few other people too.
I was warm. I was very, I just felt so safe, that nothing could hurt me now. I was with my angel and nothing could hurt me. I was just totally safe and nothing could hurt me. And when she smiled, she told me, And so just the way I felt just explained it,
When people ask me how I communicate with my angels, first of all, you have to be open. You have to be willing to listen, to see, to feel. Most of us are shut down. This world, we're so full of hate and fear and doom and gloom. You turn the news on, you listen to the, radio, you open a newspaper, and people just, that's all they think about. So you need to just let go of all that and be open and receive, because they're talking to you all the time. They're with you all the time, but we don't even pay attention.
The effect that my angel had on my life is they brought me out of the depths of my despair I was at a very low point in my life. I was into drugs and alcohol, and I was very, very depressed. And a lot of things that happened to me and appeared negative at that time. And when I started to allow my angels to work with me, they showed me that I went through this to get to them. And it really seemed kind of backwards. But I had to go through all that to ask for higher help because I didn't feel like I could help myself anymore. And my angels came and helped me. They showed me what unconditional love is. And it's just, human words can't describe it. They can't describe it.
Have you ever had an angel experience?
Personally, yeah, I think I have.
Tell me about it.
Well, let me see. I've had a situation where I thought that someone was going to die, and miraculously they got better. And I thought that that was, you know, something from above, wherever. I didn't know for sure, but I thought so.
Do you believe in angels?
Yes, I do.
Why?
Why? Because they make things happen. If you pray to God, He might send an angel to guide over you and protect you, know that. So.
Have you ever had an angel experience?
Not really. I mean, I know I have someone to guide me and protect me wherever I'm going, make sure nothing bad happens to me.
A long time ago, somebody once said to me that if there's a group of people and all of a sudden it gets silent in the room, it means an angel just passed by. And I really like that because I really believe that's true.
When I'm on a plane, I have this image, it's really goofy, where I'm afraid of flying. So I have these cherub-like angels who sit under the plane. The moment the plane takes off, there are like a dozen of them, and they carry the plane to my landing. And I swear, it's a 6-hour flight, I'm thinking about those guys the whole time, because I know they'll get me to my destination. It's probably neurotic, it's probably bizarre, but it really makes me feel safe that they're going to protect me. I believe that angels are really our spirit guides. You know, they come to us in our sleep, they come to us. You know, sometimes a person you meet over and over and again and you don't know why that person is in your life, that we're learning from these people. But mostly, I mean, my experience with an angel, for instance, is I had some questions about life, you know, like major questions. And I was in the Caribbean, and I went to sleep, and that night, I swear, I was visited by a guardian angel. I never in my life had a dream like that. It was not a dream. It was another dimension, I felt. That somebody came, and they said they said they would answer my questions. What were my questions? So I asked these questions, and when I got these answers, I felt I could move forward with my life. It was really wild, and it made a huge difference. And here it was just in a dream, but it really changed my life. I mean, on like a single day. So, and I do meditations, and you know, where you call up spirit guides, and I believe those are our angels. So, and I think if we don't believe in angels, the world would really be a very scary place.